We're going to work on a better putting stroke with 3 elements in mind. First of all though, I just want to quickly talk about, what's a bad putting stroke and what's a good putting stroke. First of all, if the ball's going in the hole and you're putting well, doesn't really matter what your stroke looks like. But most golfers will putt better with what I would call a good putting stroke. So to say what is a bad putting stroke, I would say, inconsistent, off plane, doesn't, and by off plane I mean, it might excessively move inside to outside, outside to inside, whilst the face is doing different things. A stroke can lack kind of fluidity, it might not be very smooth. But the main thing I would say is probably inconsistent and, just steered and manipulated. So a good stroke would just be the kind of opposite of those things. You keep the putter pretty on plane. And remember, a putter head should arc and rotate. We're not trying to keep a putter straight back, straight through, right? Don't try that, that doesn't work. So bit of arc, bit of rotation. But the main thing I would look for in a good putting stroke is good face control. So not, a big push, big pull, anything like that. But not a steered or manipulated putting stroke. Something that's quite, the movement is minimal in terms of excessive movement or movements we don't want that put the putter off plane, right? So you got your bad stroke, good stroke. This video, 3 elements we're going to work on are going to all give you a better putting stroke. Okay, so the first key to a better stroke that I'm going to talk about today is balance, right? Good balance gives you a better chance of a good putting stroke. And that sounds obvious, but I see a lot of golfers with poor balance. Probably the most common one might be that they're on their tiptoes, for example. Too much weight on the toes, maybe not enough forward bend, too much weight in the toes, and you don't realise that there's a little bit of movement in the putting stroke. That movement can take you from nice solid contact to poor contact out the toe of the putter or something like that. So good balance. And when you play most of your golf shots, full swing shots and chip shots, and I would say you're probably going to be on the balls of your feet for those. Putting, I would say not. I would go more even across the feet. So I like to try and feel like the balls of my feet, the toes and the heels, I'm kind of even across them. And I'm not favouring the left or right side either, okay? Some golfers might, vary a wee bit from that. I've heard of some golfers say they like to lean a little bit on their lead side, much like you would maybe do in the short game for a lot of shots. And they might do it for putting. That's fine if you do that and you like it. But for most people, I just keep it even. Nice and even. Right? So you can feel your toes, heels, balls of the feet, and you feel stable. You feel attached to the ground. So that's not difficult. Why don't you have a go at that? And you could even roll a few putts, feeling that stability. Number 2, I would say, let's work on a better connection. And by connection, I want a connection between the putter, the hands, the arms, the torso. Ideally, they can move in sync with each other quite well. I was talking earlier about what's a bad putting stroke. If you think about it, if your hands are moving all over the place, that's probably going to make it more difficult to putt. So if we can sync that up a bit better, that could be a good thing. So I would say for a connection, I quite often get people to get the elbows at the front of the ribs, bend in the arms, get this nice and sort of flat, and keep the chest out, push the hips back, and get into your setup. Look for some room in here. That's a nice connection. I like to make putting strokes in this position as well. Really feel synced up and connected. All right. So there's your connection. It's quite good to just roll some putts, thinking about your connection, and you can add the balance to it at the same time if you like. See if it feels more solid, more stable. Number 3, going to look at reducing unwanted, unnecessary movements in the body that produce unwanted movements of the putter head. So I'm going to look at the lower body first. Good way to do this, alignment stick. I do this a lot. It's really good, really easy to do, good feedback. Through the front two belt loops, and just, again, you can make the strokes up here or normal strokes. What you'll find with a lot of golfers is move the putter back and forth, legs go with the putter. Some people it doesn't go back on the way back, but excessive on the way through, and you can see that stick moving about. So what I would do is just try that, put the stick through your belt loops, grab a putter, do a normal putt or do a putting stroke up here, and see if the stick moves a lot. For a lot of people, my guess is it is going to move a lot. When you look at a lot, not all of them, but when you look at a lot of the elite putters, the best putters in the world, they don't have these unnecessary movements. Now there's always exceptions, there's always outliers, especially back in the day, but modern golfers, there's not a lot of this. So let's make some strokes, keeping that stick as still as you can, powering the stroke here. It's kind of related to that connection I was talking about as well, and getting things in sync. We're trying to keep the body, the torso, the elbows connected to the ribs, the front of the ribs. Make strokes, see if you can keep that stick from moving. And if it's moving loads, then you try and get it to not move, and it's still moving a bit. It's okay, you're improving, that's what it's all about. And just work on moving it less over time, right? And if the best you can do over time is it just still moves a little bit, it's fine. It's still better than it was if it was moving a lot. So we've got lower body stability. I've seen a lot of people improve their putting stroke through that. The other one, which is harder to do a test, you can do things. I've seen people put, stuff on the back of their necks, like their phone or something like that, and putt with a phone on the back of your neck. But I just worry that can encourage people to get too tucked in with their chin, but trying to keep the head from moving a bit. Over the years, I've seen so many different types of movements. I've seen where the head goes back with the putter, through the putter. I've actually seen where the head goes forward as the putter goes back, and then the head goes back as the putter goes forward. I've seen that a lot. So a lot of it will be related to other issues in the setup. Sometimes it's related because golfers are really too aware and too conscious of what the putter head's doing, and they want to know, and they watch it, and their eyes are trying to take a sneak peek. So try not to do that. And quite a good thing to do is actually focus on your eyes. But see if you've got that connected, better setup, better posture, tilt forward from the hips, chest engaged, upper arms connected. There's a better chance you wouldn't have that kind of movement anyway. But another thing you can do is focus on your eyes. So what are your eyes looking at when you putt? So I like to pick a dimple on the golf ball, and I would pick a dimple that's at the top of the ball and slightly to the back of the ball. And I would just fixate on that. In fact, my pre-shot routine, the last thing I do before I pull the trigger would be, I'd have my last look at the hole or the target. If it's a big wide, a lot of break, I'd look that way or that way. So I've looked, I come back to the ball. I'll spend a couple of seconds really fixating on a dimple. So it's two seconds, which actually can seem like quite a long time, but 1, 2. That 2 seconds, I'm fixated on a dimple at the top, slightly at the back. And what I'll do is I will then look at that dimple the whole time I putt. And I'll actually keep my focus where the ball was for about half a second after the ball's gone. Now, not every great putter does this. Some look up a bit quicker than others. A great example of this is the best of them all, Tiger Woods. You watch how he putts. After he putts, he does not rush to lift his head. He keeps his eyes, he keeps his head focused on where the ball was, maybe for half a second, maybe even a full second after the ball. Give that a try. That might help reduce, along with a better setup, connection, good balance, and just lower body still, and just try and fixate on a dimple on the ball, and then after you make contact, keep your eyes focused where the ball was for like a second and see how you get on with that. It's going to feel robotic and cagey to do all this at first, and you might not execute brilliant putts, but you do these things and you do them one at a time, and then you put them all together, whatever. The more you do them, they become habits, and then you get comfortable with them. You don't feel like you're too mechanical, robotic. If you were to watch this video and then go play golf and say, I'm going to put all that into action tomorrow on the golf course, I doubt that would work very well. Got to practice this off the course like anything. Train it off the course, take some notes on what we did there, and focus on it off the course, so then you can go on the course and, you know, try and putt relaxed. I don't want you to be standing over the ball on the green, on the golf course, with 20 things in a checklist to go through before you can execute your putt. That isn't going to work well. So, as always, go practice off the course. So we've got good balance, good connection, good stability, without too many unnecessary movements. Give that a try and see how you get on, and let me know in the comments if you've got any feedback, any questions. I'll be happy to answer them. Thanks for watching.